harder and harder the older I get to stand up. When I've been seated for a long time, I'll just stay right here. Obviously a tremendous honor. When Steve called last week to inform me, I thought maybe he had the wrong number. After 38 years of removed from my college football experience, I thought maybe it could have been a figment of my imagination when I did at Cal, or maybe somehow, some way, he just had gotten the wrong guy and contacted him. But anyway, it was an absolute honor, and I was humbled by it, especially now that I hear some of the guys that are going to be inducted along with me in this class. Absolute thrill. You know, one of the highest honors I've ever received, and I'm very grateful for it. National Football Foundation, Steve, your group, Matt, you guys do a tremendous job, and I'm glad to be a part of the family.
Before there was Aaron Rodgers, there was Steve Bartkowski. I'd like to give Coach Jimmy Johnson an opportunity to talk about today's announcement, what it means to you.
Well, obviously I'm honored to go into the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame. You know, people for years have asked me to compare professional football and coaching in professional football and coaching in college football. And while the winning back-to-back Super Bowls at the Dallas Cowboys was rewarding, the most fun I had in football was in college. You know, coaching the undefeated national champion at Miami, getting my start, and going to a couple of bowl games at Oklahoma State. But on top of that, playing for an undefeated national champion team at the University of Arkansas. You know, being part of a coaching staff, being an assistant with some great Oklahoma teams and Pittsburgh teams. And even to this day, even though I work in professional football with Fox NFL Sunday, every Saturday, you know, I fly out to LA and I've got 3 TVs set up. Terry Bradshaw, my best friend, Terry and I sit there, watch you, and we have college football all day long. And we'll start at 10 o'clock in the morning watching college football, and we won't turn the TVs off until that night. That's how we prepare for our show the next day. So anything that you might quip on Saturday, we might use on Sunday. But that's how we feel about college football. It was a great experience for me. I loved it. Obviously, you know, well, I said, you know, the most fun time of my life was my days at the University of Miami. Now, I've changed that. The most fun time of my life is right now. But one reason why it was so much fun, when you lose 2 regular season games in 4 years, that's a lot of fun. And so we had a hell of a time at Miami, and I'm very honored.
I'd like to open up the opportunity for any media here in the immediate audience. If you have questions for either Steve Bartkowski or Coach Johnson, to go ahead.
Yeah, Jesse, Dick Weiss, Valley News, Jim. I just was wondering about playoffs. I mean, what would it have been like if you went playoffs where it Miami?
Well, if we'd have had playoffs at Miami, I'd have probably won another couple of national championships. And if we'd had replay, we'd probably won another one, and Notre Dame would have had one. But anyway, that's another story. I'm sure Lou Holtz would disagree with me on that one. But having experienced both of it, I love the playoff system. I love being able to win it on the field, you know, doing it in professional football, and I've always been one that, as much as I love the bowl system, and I think as long as you can incorporate it within the bowl system, and because I mean it's a great experience. The one thing about the bowl system, and you know, being in Oklahoma State, and I told the story this morning about my first opportunity at Oklahoma State when we were building a program, going to the Independence Bowl, and they were just getting started. I mean, even though I had to pull money out of my wallet to buy some hamburgers for our after the game dinner, that was our party. It was a great, great experience. And so, you know, so many individuals, coaches and players at the collegiate level to go to that bowl game and all the fans to experience that, I think is a positive. So if you could have a playoff system that worked within the bowl system, I think you'd have the best of both worlds.
Lloyd Carroll. Just to follow Dick's question of Steve, and Missy can answer this one too. Is it really fair though to scholar athletes to take more time away from school to be participating in a bowl playoff series?
Jesse, you might want to handle this one. I went to sports and played school at Cal. So you might not be the most qualified guy to answer that. But no, I think it's tough. I sort of agree with Jimmy. I think if it can be incorporated into the bowl system, it makes a lot of sense to have some sort of a Final Four face-off at the end of the year. Basketball's done pretty good with that. I know the logistics are a lot different in football, and the wear and tear on the body, again, that's another thing that has to be taken into consideration. But I would like to see the computers taken out of the game and settled on the field. I think as most college football fans would.
To add to that, I've just always been confused why student athletes in the football championship subdivision can play 15 games through a playoff process to become national champions. As soon as it comes around to the football bowl subdivision, people say, well, you can't play that many games, it's taken away from school. And we've already have a standard of that in one league we see already. And I think one reason so many people, like this Final Four, quote unquote, scenario, this +1 scenario, is that it's potentially, it's a 15th game for two teams. And I think if you could incorporate it in the bowl games, you could play that first playoff round late in December, and then 14 days later, play that national championship game. I think it still kind of fits the model with respect to timeline.
Hey, this is Tom Nondorf with Touchdown Illustrated. And Coach Johnson, I'm just looking at these guys that we were just hearing about. Of course, you got Steve and Dave Casper, Art Monk. You get all these guys in their prime, and let's say put them with a bunch of average, decent guys. Can you win a national championship with them?
Well, I'll just say this. When I was at the University of Miami, I thought I was a pretty good coach. We won a lot of games. And I went to the Dallas Cowboys, and we had our first workout. And I was kind of taken back a little bit. And so then I started traveling around the country, going to different schools to evaluate their talent so that we could get ready for the draft. And I realized they didn't have as many good players as what we had in Miami. And that's what wins games. Now, but not only individuals that are talented. The people that we're talking about here are talented in other areas as well. One of the things that we did at Miami, probably one of the things I'm most proud of, when taking players from all walks of life and all different kinds of backgrounds, when I first went there, the graduation rate was 33%. The graduation rate at Miami when I left was 88% because of the academic support system that we put into place. And it has improved since then. So I think the people that we're talking about here are not just good football players. It takes more than just good football players to win games, and especially to win championships. You have to have good people. And these are special individuals as well as being great football players.
Hi, John Walters at The Daily. Coach Johnson, this is for you. First, I can't believe it's actually, this is the day. I thought this would have happened 5 to 10 years ago, for you to be honest.
That's what I told Steve Patrick.
Everybody makes, I'm coming from a person who doesn't want the Final Four, by the way, but how long until we're having an 18 playoff? I mean, seriously, do you really think it's just going to stay at 4?
I think Jesse would be better equipped to answer this question.
Everything's just getting thrown my way in the building. I just came to announce the clap. I think another reason so many people like the 14 model is because I think they then believe it doesn't devalue the regular season. That's one point of contention that everybody talks about with this playoff format. If you take away meaningful regular season games, that's something that hurts. I think at 4 teams, the top 4 make it in. I think it still makes regular season games very, very meaningful. Teams still cannot afford to lose a game. Certainly can't afford to lose 2 games if you expect to be in the top 4 at the end of the season. There's always going to be an argument for that 5th team that's knocking on the door saying, whoa, we should get in rather than the 4th. But I think you really compound that problem if all of a sudden that model moves to 8 teams, 16 teams, 32 teams, whatever it is. You really then devalue the regular season.
This is a question for all of you guys. What do you guys think of, obviously conference realignment has gone crazy over the past year. What do you guys think of conference realignment, and where do you think college football will be conference-wise in the next 10 years?
Jesse?
That's you, Jesse.
Once again. Well, it was funny. You know, I remember a whirlwind off-season last year where we seemed to talk about it all the time. There was obviously a lot of movement. And, you know, where do I see college football in 10 years? I hope it's not mega conferences. You know, just as a former player and as a fan of college football, I'm very tied to the traditions and the rivalries. And the one thing I see that we're losing with all this conference realignment is some of these great games. I mean, we're not going to see Texas A&M again for you know, maybe a long time. And even West Virginia moving to the Big 12 conference, you know, the backyard brawl is one of my favorite games each and every year to watch. And it's unfortunate. Missouri leaving the SEC, I mean, an historic rivalry played over 100 years with Kansas that not a lot of people look at, and not a lot of people circle on their calendar, but that affects a lot of people. And I think as fans of college football, it's really unfortunate. Certainly that there's financial reasons, and there's geographic footprint reasons, and there's a lot of other reasons for a lot of this realignment that we see. I don't know where it's going to be in 10 years. I hope it's not mega conferences. And you know, I was happy that it kind of settled down. And now, of course, you see recently, you know, rumors now that Florida State may be moving from the ACC. You wonder some of, you know, the effects of that if that in fact happens.
Ivan Mazel, ESPN.com. Steve, Jimmy spoke about the fun he had in Miami. When you look back at your college career and a very long pro career, what does that make you think of in terms of what your college experience was?
Yeah, I really probably was remiss in not mentioning some of the things that came first to my mind when Steve came with the phone call last week, drawn back to my teammates. You know, we all know football is the ultimate team game, you know, and I had a great group of guys that were around me at Cal. Chuck Muncie, Wesley Walker, Howard Strickland. We had some good football players, an offensive line that was pretty solid, kept me standing upright, and it was fun. I mean, it was fun. I was there because I wanted to be there, not because somebody was paying me a large amount of money to go out and take the field. Camaraderie, you know, just the things that really kind of mean the most to a young fella. You know, the encouragement from brothers. You know, the guys that are, you know, it's really a brotherhood, and you're in it together. You lose some of that at the next level. I know it was lost on me for the first 3 years. I spent more time at Piedmont Hospital than I did on the field for the Atlanta Falcons. So that wasn't very much fun. But you know, at the end of the day, I look back with great fondness on my college years at University of California. It was just a wonderful time. And Steve's call last week brought back a lot of great memories.
Coach, where do you stand on this issue of concussions?
Well, I think we're all attracted to the sport because of the violent nature. But by the same token, we all have to understand that there are medical concerns, and we don't want the game to ever get to where players leave the game and they're injured, to take away the quality of life. And I think everything that we can do to make the game safer, and I think that's what they're trying to do in professional football as well as collegiate football, is to make the game safer. If it means taking away some of the violent hits, then the safety of the players outweighs, the attraction. And so It is a concern. The only thing is, you know, I think some of the players have to understand that they played in an era that they didn't have the expertise as far as preventing some of these injuries. And so I think they have to understand that. I mean, so many times today in all the walks of society, the first thing somebody wants to do is say, get me an attorney, I want to sue. And so I don't like seeing lawsuits. But by the same token, I think everything that we can do to prevent these concussions and to make the game safer, that's what we should do, even if it takes away from the violent nature of the game.
In terms of how physical it is?
I think that there will continually be changes. Bill Belichick came down fishing with me a few weeks ago, and we were talking about it. I think the increase in statistics throwing the football. Steve, you love throwing the ball now because those receivers go across the middle. They're not afraid to get hit.
I'd still be in the league.
Right. Nobody hits you anyway. You're too pretty to get hit. But I think it's opened up the passing game, and so there's going to be changes. But I think the changes are for the betterment of the sport, to make it safer. But there's going to be continual changes in the sport to make it safer.
We have time for one more question. Hall of Fame. We'd like to give special thanks to both Steve Bartkowski, Coach Jimmy Johnson, for being here with us today. We'd like to thank our hosts, NASDAQ, as well as the Orange Bowl, the law firm of Troutman Sanders and XOS Digital, and also a thanks to our production partner, Brandbridge Limited. For all of the media here with us today, watching online, live as well, thank you for your interest in today's event. If you'd like further information on the 2012 College Football Hall of Fame class, you can go to www.footballfoundation.org. Members in the media, you're now welcome to approach both Steve Bartkowski or Coach Jimmy Johnson if you have interview requests. And of course, everybody's welcome to stay for lunch as well. Thank you for being with us here today.